goes live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, jeez, God. The sound of my own voice. God. Sometimes I hear it, and it just freaks me out. My son makes fun of it all the time. So I become more self-conscious about it. Yeah. He said I'm always saying, Jesus. And I never noticed I said, Jesus, all the time. And excuse me for those of you who consider that blasphemy, but since I don't believe in that Jesus was the Son of God, then me saying, Jesus, is not technically blasphemy on my part. It might be disrespectful of your religion, but anyway, I didn't realize that I did that. Jesus! And now I'm self-conscious. Jesus. Okay. Now, I just have to tell you, there is someone in the room who's not usually here. It is a photographer, Aaron. And if you hear some noise, because the shutter makes, that noise, that's what it is. Okay. They're doing this for promotional purposes. They're going to promote? What a novel thought. Okay, so I'm sick of being dutiful and watching all these debates and town halls. I am, because there's another one tonight. I ain't going to watch it. I can't do it. I did last night. And CNN, I love this format where it's not the candidates mixing it up. It's Bernie Sanders sitting or standing and taking questions from regular people and interacting with them and taking questions from, what's his name? Good bod, gray hair, gay. Anderson Cooper. Thank you very much. And I got to tell you, Bernie Sanders is charming. I mean, I didn't have feelings about him one way or the other, really. I understood his politics, but he's very winning. I don't think I meant that as a pun either, because I'm not sure he could win a general election. But there's something truly charming about him, and he just seems real. That, what's the most important thing? Authenticity. And he seems authentic. And she just doesn't. You know what she seems? She seems competent as hell. It's not exciting competence. Revolution spouted by an old man with a Brooklyn accent, that's more exciting. Competence. Dear God help us. So anyway, I'm not going to talk a lot about that because I just, we got to pace ourselves, guys. But I did come upon something that I thought was worthy of attention, and that has to do with the fact that Pennsylvania's primary is set so late in the season that invariably when we go to the polls in the primary, we're not shifting the balance of power. Generally speaking, nominees of both parties have already been chosen. They've nailed it down. But increasingly pundits, who, by the way, why do we even listen to them anymore? They're wrong. Nothing is as it should be in this election cycle thus far. So we listen to the pundits who are pundits because they know how things shake out in general in the past and blah, 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 blah. But it seems like nothing really fits. Things are being exploded and changing. So they're saying now that it is possible that Donald Trump and Ted Cruz are going to dominate for the next few weeks and primaries. New Hampshire, South Carolina, and then this big, it's called the SEC primary, which is 12 mostly southern states. Minnesota's in there for some reason. 12 mostly southern states that all vote on March 1. And normally after that, it's pretty clear. But even if Cruz and Trump are seemingly way ahead after that March 1 12-state primary, the number crunchers say Marco Rubio could still end up with the nomination. It is not, and increasingly as you look at how Rubio would do it, the state that could put him over the top would be Pennsylvania. When somebody like Rubio ends up looking like, what, a moderate because of the other two? I mean, come on. Dear God. Okay, it says here, if you're interested, that the way the Republican primary structure is, it is front-loaded. These early primaries are in states that would always be friendlier to lunatics like Trump and Cruz. But then, because of the rules, it's so complicated, damn it. All but one of these early states that go for loons or insurgents, every one of these award delegates on a proportional basis. So, coming out of Iowa, whoever won, Cruz won Iowa, right? But he doesn't get all of Iowa's delegates. They are proportioned. You got this much of the vote, you get 8. You got this much of the vote, you get 6. So it's not winner take all. And that is the case for most of these early primaries. So they're proportioned. Everybody gets something. the Republican National Committee set this up this way so that no one candidate can build, an absolutely commanding lead this early in the campaign. And so later races, like Ohio's primary, Florida's primary, which have a lot of delegates, right? Those two big states. They are winner take all. So as the primary season goes on, and if Trump were to win Florida, let's say, he gets a ton of delegates, or if Cruz wins it, ton of delegates. Odds are, if it's Florida, who's going to win it? Rubio. It's his home state. So Rubio will take it. That's 66 delegates, bang, in your pocket. It's pretty clear at this point that it has whittled down to a three-man race, right? Nobody's bothered to tell Jeb Bush or Chris Christie or John Kasich or who else am I missing? Are they only three left in it that haven't bailed out? I feel like I'm missing somebody, but anyway. So they say, don't get freaked if there's an early lead for Trump or Cruz in this primary season. The guys crunching the numbers at the New York Times say, our estimates show that Cruz would need 543 delegates heading into the March 15th primaries. Oh, you don't care about all this crap. Who cares? All right, screw it. Everybody now thinks it's going to be Rubio, right? Yeah? Calmer heads will prevail. Marco Rubio. You know what nobody's pointing out? Are they? If it is Marco Rubio, that could help the Republicans with a big problem, right? The Hispanic vote. And what if it were Marco Rubio and Hilary Clinton? Which, quite possible. We'd be looking at another sort of ceiling broken. And it would be, obviously, that we were either going to elect, after having elected the last two elections, an African-American president, we are going to then elect either the first woman or the first Hispanic. And I find that's one of the good things that's come out of this crazy election period. Nobody is really talking about he's a Hispanic. Are we ready for a Hispanic? Nobody. Did you hear anybody saying that? Or do you hear anybody saying, it's a woman, I would never vote for it. Do you hear anybody saying that anymore? You don't even hear much being made about the fact that Sanders is a Jew. Believe me. Electing a Jew president would be more startling than a Hispanic or a woman or a black. But I don't hear anything much about it. So in that regard, I must say, clearly we have made progress as a people. And quite obviously are willing to let anybody who is capable, like Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, be the president of the United States. Jesus! Okay, so you're not supposed to come on the North Shore or downtown right now because they're holding, they're closing down streets and ramps because the dog is dead. Now, I'm a dog lover. I can't walk by a dog without stopping to say hello. Asking how you doing? I talk. I love dogs. But this is nuts. This is nuts. What does it say here? I had it somewhere. Hey, it's right now I think right about now until about 11:30 or 12. Great time if you want to commit a crime in Pittsburgh, because all the police are going to be in their cars following, I guess, this dog's casket or something, heading over to the Rocco statue on the north side and holding an hour-long memorial service. I mean, it's like we have no sense of proportion anymore. And meanwhile, the human being that is dead, the human that killed the dog, he's lying somewhere and his family doesn't have enough money to bury him. The dog, meanwhile, is getting a cortege caisson with, horses and the spurs on the saddle going in backwards and salutes and all that kind of stuff. Something's wrong here. Yeah, here's what it says. The procession for today's 11 a.m. memorial for Port Authority Canine Officer Aaron. I'm sorry. Do you know it's a felony to tease a police dog? If you walk by a cop's car and there's a dog in it and you go, not that I would. It's a felony, apparently. Okay, the procession will begin at 10:15. It's right now. It's heading out. So all the people are trying to get to work on the busway. Forget it, because there's this huge procession right now on the busway. And they'll travel up to Grant Street, turn left onto Liberty, Fort Duquesne Boulevard, Clemente Bridge, West General Robinson, Chuck Knoll Way. Heading over there to the Ohio, where there is a statue. Well, there's a law enforcement memorial there. Downtown streets and those on the North Shore will have traffic delays. Exits from Interstate 279 to the North Shore will be closed for about 15 minutes because a German Shepherd died. Okay, fine. Why did he die? He died because his trainer, his officer, sent him in to a very dangerous situation. He sent him to attack a man with a knife. What is any human reaction? What is your reaction if a German Shepherd comes at you and you happen to be holding a knife? Why? I mean, every survival instinct you have would kick in. And so, as I have said, what was the first crime that created the chaos that resulted in this silliness today, plus a man dead? The man and his father were drinking in public. They were sitting in a gazebo in Wilkinsburg near the busway, and they were drinking. That's a no-no. It is not a capital offense. There is no way anyone should be dead, man nor beast. It would have been no more than a father-son argument, but that 2 police officers came on the scene. And that's why we're reminded of that great quote from the mayor of Chicago in 1968 about the police preserving disorder. This is nuts. The cops come on the scene, and 10, 15 minutes later, their beloved dog is dead, and a man is dead. No, he wasn't a man that you would laud for great behavior. He'd had a lot of trouble with cops, apparently had mental illness. But in this country, increasingly, mental illness is a capital offense. I think we're all going insane. That's what I think. If you ask me, the person who killed the dog was his handler. He sent that dog straight into a knife. I mean, What? If a dog's coming your way, you think you just stand there and let him bury his... Those dogs are not trained to nicely take... They are trained to use their teeth, sink them into your body, and not let up. That is not a de-escalation, ever. Caller, go ahead.
Aaron, it's Mike from D.C.
Hey.
That guy wasn't killed because he was drinking or because he stabbed that dog. He was killed for one reason and one reason only. He dared to not follow the police's direction.
Right, he didn't.
And somehow in our culture, police have made themselves judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah.
And they think they have the right to do it.
Once he did...
I felt he was going to hurt me.
That's right.
That doesn't make you judge, jury, and executioner.
Right. Once he didn't comply, he was starting to dig his own grave. But
sometimes
what
even
craziness!
When you do comply,
I know, sometimes when you do comply. But what craziness that all of these people end up dead. And they've done nothing that should result in that. It's like cops have lost all sense of proportion.
Because they think their objective is to get home safe at all costs. It's not to protect us. It's not to be a public servant. It's not the common good. It's they're going to get home safely at all costs.
Yeah.
And anybody who doesn't think that's what cops do doesn't understand the mind of a cop.
Well, you know, we have another case here now that is, it's about a Pittsburgh cop. There's video of him just taking it's always a drunk, taking a drunk and picking him up and slamming him into the ground and then punching him a number of times. The cop, I'm happy to say, is on unpaid leave. The chief of police supported filing charges of assault against him. But the district judge, a guy named Ravenstall, dropped the charges. Let him go. The FBI is now involved. The cop who did this to this guy, to this drunk, said, I saw him ball his hands into a fist, and he felt threatened.
Right, and that's all he needs is to feel threatened.
That's all he needs. And isn't it amazing how quickly they feel threatened?
I know, bunch of pussies, seriously.
Yeah.
Such a pussy that a drunk guy makes you fear for your life. I used to be a therapist at Gateway, and there were lots of times that I felt threatened.
I bet.
I didn't stand up and throw a chair at the guy. I had skills on how to de-escalate the situation so that that guy wouldn't do anything inappropriately.
Isn't that what one of the biggest things that cops should learn is exactly what you just said? A cop should be extremely adept at de-escalation. Instead, quite the opposite, they're increasingly adept at escalation. If you're there
Women are really good at de-escalation,
Yes.
just naturally, because you've been harassed all your life. So you know how to play that game of to get the man to back away, but knowing that he can hurt you. So women are usually just socially better at de-escalation.
Well, I think they're better at reading situations and reading people, and because they have less testosterone.
And what's the percentage of women versus men in the police force?
Well, I don't know. Puny.
So we know that women have this skill that men don't naturally have in our culture. So do we hire more women or more men?
Well, we hire more white men. I don't know. It's crazy. Crazy! Do you know one of the things that's happening now, and I think it has happened because of all of these videos and all of these cases, when you hear the police version of events, well, here's what happened, say the police, you don't necessarily believe it when you used to. I think Americans used to, always. Okay, that's what happened. I believed it, I used to. I don't believe it anymore.
Nope. All cops and district attorneys are liars, in my book.
But so here's what. Why don't the good cops, and they gotta be tons of them, why don't the good cops realize that these bad cops are harming them and harming their ability to do their jobs? Why do they not, police their own ranks?
I think it's about groupthink. And you identify with your group. And that group, if you say, wait a second, that group, my group is doing something wrong, you can be ostracized. And that fear of being ostracized or made the other in your own little group is more scary than just turning your head and pretending that it's not happening.
All right.
Sorry, I don't mean to be so clinical about it, but
no,
there's bigger issues than just good cop, bad cop.
Right. 'Tis true. And I thank you for your call, as always.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Mike.
Bye.
Bye. Email Hilary from Henry. As you said, Hilary is certainly competent, but that doesn't seem to translate very well for her. That's the thing. Isn't that odd? Her sentences often begin with, I have done, or I know how to, or I have a track record for. That means nothing to me, and obviously rubs me and a lot of other people the wrong way. Okay, let's stop there, though. Henry, stop there. Because I have wondered to myself uncomfortably if our reaction to her saying, I have this and I have that, is not sexist. That we simply are not used to a woman in this game at this level. And stop and think, if a man gets up there, because God knows they do, and God knows they start their sentences with, I have this and I have that, then, but when she does it, we get a little bzzz. And I've been asking myself, as I note my reaction to her, whoa, Cullen, is it conceivable that some of your inability to warm to her is actually sexist? I'm used to men standing up there and talking in self-aggrandizing ways. We don't even blink. That's what guys do. Women have been taught not to do that. It's not becoming. it's not becoming. So she's at a disadvantage. She's at a disadvantage. She gets up and says, I did this and I did that, because she is the most, without a doubt, qualified candidate available on either side. You can't ask for a better resume. Her resume clobbers almost anybody's resume you can think of for the last 20 years of who should be president. But we're not conditioned to respond well to a woman doing that. I am not conditioned. But the thing is, young women, you think, would be more willing. And they just, I think, look at her and see their mothers. We're not used to a mother in this position in this country. So, Henry, I'm not calling you a sexist. You're as much a sexist as I am. I just feel like I don't know that either of us would react that way if she were male. But she lacks charm. There's something robotic, something studied, She's never at a loss. She always knows when to smile, and you don't trust it. See, I'm saying that I feel like everything is, but why am I feeling that way about her? Maybe because it's true. I don't know. I'm so mixed up about Hilary and my reaction to her. Anyway, Henry goes on, Bernie Sanders' rhetoric is not like that. He doesn't make claims like Hilary does. Well, he hadn't done as much either. Bernie simply spouts his principles, and we trust that he's guided by his principles. He's believable. Yeah, true. Hilary has a communication problem. She's not believable. Well, I agree with that. Caller, hi.
Yeah, Clarence again from Canonsburg.
Oh, honest to Pete.
Who's Pete anyway? So anyway.
I don't know who Pete is.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's St. Peter for sure.
Okay, I thought maybe it was Pete Moss.
No, it's always, that was probably a form of blasphemy. Speaking of blasphemy, Peter is St. Peter, anything like that. Believe me.
Okay. As you were talking about Hillary.
Yeah.
I was thinking, and sexist and all that kind of good stuff. In a discussion on Facebook, some people said, I can't believe you're voting for Hillary. She's this, she's that, she's the other thing. And I said, well, I'm basing it on what she's done, not what people said she's done. And I think a lot of people are basing their feelings on Hillary on what's been said about her. Not as what she's actually did, but what she's, with people, other people's reaction. It's become almost fashionable to hate Hillary. Mm-hmm. Because the constant, talking about her.
Well, she comes with a lot of baggage. It's not like we don't know her. I mean, we lived through 8 years with her already, and we were exhausted by the Clintons.
By what? What part? Was it Benghazi? Made up
No. I'm saying exhausted by Bill's presidency.
Oh, okay, yeah. See,
and she was very much a part of that.
Yeah, and even when you go back to Bill's presidency, how much of Bill's presidencies was, made up?
Oh, yeah.
All of, except for the Monica Lewinsky thing.
Yeah.
Everything else was just a bunch of, crap bait to throw against the wall.
Yeah.
And you're made sick of them because of the constant.
Right.
Not what they've done, what it's said they have done. And,
in large part, yes. But you see it again with Hillary and Benghazi and the emails and I don't know.
Same thing happened to Barack Obama. That's the genius of it. Doesn't have to actually be fact. Just keep saying it. And then people get a feeling.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
right.
And
another thing I'm curious about Hillary, and, you were talking about, is Matt sexist about this? You were talking about, her women not being able to say these things. I'm curious, because I believe she has the largest minority support out of anybody. And I'm thinking, Is it because we're used to that? You're used to strong black women. It's just a thing. It's a cultural thing. Yeah, she comes off as this. Yeah, so was my mother. My sisters are like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't bother me. It never did bother me. You know, so I'm just curious if that's a thing or if it's just, me making something up in my head.
I don't know. And I mean, it's why I'm wrestling with myself and wondering if some of my reaction is not, that I'm not. Hey, who dat?
That's Rabbit.
Rob who?
Rabbit. My dog.
Rabbit. Oh, yeah, Rabbit.
My dogs are named Bunny and Rabbit. And Rabbit barks at the mailman when he comes by. And that's what just
That's
happened.
the mailman.
Yeah.
Oh, listen, tell Rabbit that is so cliche. He should come up with something a little more original. Okay?
Yeah, well, he barks. He's not as cool as Drew, although Bunny is. But Rabbit's my guard dog. You can't come anywhere near me.
Well, that's good. It's good to have. He's got the kind of bark that would make you pay attention.
Yeah, you can't. Nobody. I mean, absolutely nobody besides a child can come anywhere near me. You can come in the house, but don't come hey, Clarence, and give me a hug because he's coming at you.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
Well,
he's very protective of me. Somebody said, you should stop. I'm like, nah, I think that's fine. As long as I don't try to, stop an old man and a kid from drinking anywhere near a bus stop, it's all right that he does that.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. I know people who knew that kid. He's originally from Washington.
Yeah.
I'm calling him a kid. He was.
He was. Yeah. I mean, he. What it?
He's in his 30s, I believe. But
I'm looking somewhere where his family. I mean, can you imagine how they feel seeing this all this hoo-ha going on for the dog that is the reason that he's dead? And I'm
sitting here pausing because I'm like, he's a black guy. Do you think that these people aren't used to this kind of treatment? I can't believe they're treating the dog better than they're treating my son. Yes, you can.
And you wonder why, yeah. And that's why, and then stop and think about it, how Barack Obama clearly was told that he could not come across as an angry black man. Now, where did that angry black man come from? For God's sakes, an angry black man is any black man who knows history and his own life experience. And so white people are scared of angry black men because white people know that they've been mistreated.
And you see it now. They're starting to understand. That's why there's this huge middle-aged white guy suicide rate. And they're, I purposely linked a article in the Washington Observer on Facebook because every single face was white. And they were all heroin addicts.
Yes. Yeah.
Every single one. And I went, that's the heroin is the white people's crack.
Yep. There it is.
Yep.
And you notice how seriously they're not incarcerating him. No. They're trying desperately to do something about this.
Do something about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it's just yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on a roll.
Yeah, no, it's okay if black people are dying, but as soon as white people start dying, oh my God, we've got to do something about this.
Lead in the water?
Yeah, really.
Come on.
Here's the quote I was looking for. May Chandler. It's the aunt of the dead man.
I know the Chandler family.
You do?
I didn't realize that he was a Chandler.
Okay.
Yeah.
She says, to kill my nephew because he killed a dog, it's not right. And they're having a funeral for the dog, and my sister has to try and get enough donations to try to bury her son.
Shame. It reminds me of the day of 9/11 when a woman, I called the show, but a woman had called right before me. She lived in Nevillewood. I'll never forget it. She's talking about, my children is, oh, Lord, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm afraid of my children. I was like, and I came on right after and said, try living in the Hill District or somewhere in the inner city when you have to put your 5-year-old on a bus every day to go to school. Now you understand terror. living with terror every day. You don't have a turn signal.
Yeah,
and you get stopped by
right. One of my lights is out on the front of my car. God, I hope I'm not killed by a cop. Do you know what? My son, I drove my car with one of the I think front lights not working for some time. I never got stopped because of that. Mm-hmm. My poor kid, brown-skinned kid, he's driving my car. I think it was bang, stopped, just like that.
Yep. Welcome to my world, Sam.
Yeah. Oh, he knows it. Yeah.
My turn signal went out, and I drive a Pacifica. It's like a minivan.
Never even
and
heard
I'm
of
an old
it.
guy.
Yeah.
I didn't get stopped, but as soon as that thing, you get a little warning. Your turn signal goes real fast.
Yeah.
I didn't even go home. I went to the car. The car place, and I got me a new turn signal light. Changed it that day. I driving for 3 seconds with that thing out.
I hope you're right in that as this becomes more, gets out in the open, that more white people are seeing this reality.
Yeah, I guarantee you that Sam's generation, you know what I mean?
Oh, they know it. Yeah.
Yeah, those kids are a little bit more hip. They're a little bit more integrated.
Yes.
And all that kind of good stuff. And they believe it because they've seen the video.
Yeah.
Before you would have to say, no, seriously, I swear I did this. Oh, come on, no cop would ever do that. Yeah. No, man, seriously. Get out of here.
No, really.
Now, let's go to the
we got
videotape.
it. Yeah. All right, you.
All right.
Thank
that was
you.
an almost serious conversation by me. I have to quit that.
That was almost serious. Thank you, Clarence.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye. Ray writes, haven't heard from you in a while, Ray. Nice to hear your voice again. Lynn, the use of dogs to control people is barbaric. How about letting them use tigers or long-toothed vicious baboons? Wouldn't that be a sight? I have Rottweilers, and I love my dogs, but they're not people, and no dog, mine nor the cops, are smart enough to understand and enforce the law. I will consider that a dog is a police officer when it can drive a police car and write a ticket. Well said. Well said. Jesus. They do it with a straight face. Officer Aaron, a fellow officer. What that dog is a tool. Like their guns, like their tasers. Their taser wasn't working to take this guy down, so they went to their next tool. It's not an officer. Their gun is not an officer. The taser's not an officer. The poor dog who trusts totally his trainer, his handler, is sent into what of course will be a lethal situation for him, because anyone who's being attacked by a German Shepherd who happens to be holding a knife is going to use the knife. Who wouldn't? Back to Ray. And as far as drug dogs that sit down to indicate sufficient reason to search for drugs, horseshit. What dog wouldn't sit down at every car if it gets praised for its excellent... No, I don't agree with you there. They're trained. Yeah. I don't agree with you there, Ray. Again, when I can put the dog on the stand and cross-examine its motivation, then I will consider it sufficient reason to violate my rights. For all I know, Fido was tired from a long chase of some black teenager. I can't surrender to a dog. I can't reason with a dog. I cannot explain to a dog that he's biting the wrong guy. It can't read my ID. If any cop exhibited the same inability, he'd never be hired. Good rant, Ray. Just trying to catch up on your emails, guys. Denise writes of Hilary. Hi, Lynn. This post made me question some of my perceptions of Hilary also. Many people, including Joe Scarborough, say how easy and charming she is one-on-one. I hear that all the time. But that she can't seem to project that when she's speaking to large groups. Clearly. She has so many lines to straddle. Women can't be too ambitious. Women have to worry about being feminine enough or not enough or shrill and all those things. Morning Joe was on an 8-minute roll about her tone and the volume of her voice yesterday. See, that's the thing. And at one point and her voice went up, and when women's, I know my voice, listen to that! Nobody wants to. Okay, caller, hello.
Hi, Lynn. This is Tea Party Dave. I'm actually calling from my office in the Strip District.
Well, hello there, Tea Party Dave.
And I'm watching you on my little laptop right now.
Okay.
And I just wanted to call in because you were talking about my favorite subject is the police. And being one who is, let me just tell you, an extreme, or what Mitt Romney used to say, a severe conservative. I am really the most anti-police person you could ever find on the right.
Why is that?
Because I look at the police as strictly, we had this conversation once before, and I was trying to think of the right word. Where you look at the police as being sort of like the Ku Klux Klan, I think of the police as the Gestapo.
You see them as enforcers of the state's power.
Right. They have no limit.
Yes.
Think of the Gestapo in Nazi Germany. What did they just? They just came in, barged in, took anybody, did anything they wanted.
Yeah. Well, so do our cops.
Like, if it wasn't for video, like you were just talking about, how many times do we have to see that? Thank God for video, because how many? Imagine, like I think it was a young fellow. You were talking about the cop who took the kid, slams him on the ground, If it wasn't for the video, none of us would know that.
No, because all we'd have is the cop's story.
Right, and imagine.
He threatened me.
I couldn't believe the one that gets to me is the South Carolina story. You saw the
I can't. I just can't.
Where the guy is running away from the police, and the policeman shoots him in the back 8 times. You know what's so funny is you would like to read the police version of this. Yeah. And if it wasn't for somebody holding their cell phone to video record what happened, this cop would have been honored. He would have got his, they probably would have gave him a medal for stopping a dangerous criminal. Yep. That's why I look at the police. I don't look at the police as Ku Klux Klan. I look at them as the Gestapo.
Okay.
Somebody completely out of control, an arm of the government who they're unstoppable. This is just, let me finish with the one thing. I think if you ever want to get a nice, good laugh of reality TV, watch this. Remember, it's still on TV. It's called Cops.
Oh, yeah.
Where they go around and follow the cops. I think it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. If you ever watch that show, it's supposed to be real.
Yeah.
It's funny as hell, because imagine what they would do if the camera wasn't there.
Well, indeed. Indeed.
Yeah, they're chasing somebody through the brush and the woods and the this and the that and everything, and they get them back, and they're sitting them on the ground. Well, sir, watch your head, sir. And they cuff them really, and they sit them down nicely. Sir? Well, we're just,
So
I laugh like hell, because if the camera wasn't there, they'd be grabbing them by the arm, kicking, beating the hell out of them, and then slamming their head into the cement, throw them in the back of the car, and then you guy would have ended up all bloody, and I said, well, he resisted arrest.
That's right. Well, that's absolutely right. Well, thank you for your call. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Lynn. You have a good day,
You too.
And smile and wave, and I'll see.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. All righty. Oh, wait a minute. Dorothea does not agree. I have to take you to task about the police dog. Sorry, this is just the ramblings of an old, oversympathetic woman. Don't apologize. That's what women do all the time. You can be overly sympathetic or simply sympathetic, but don't apologize for your opinion. That's what women do. We do that all the time. That's how we're trained. And when we come on strong, when we have opinions, when we say, I did this, I did that, people recoil. Okay, Dorothea, back to you. First, funerals are for the living, not for the dead, and the dog's family and fellow officers certainly deserve their funeral. I would concede the size of the funeral is too large, maybe. You mean city streets don't have to be... Yes. Right. Second, how and why the dog died, the circumstances around the dog's death, that shouldn't dictate the size of the funeral or whether we have a funeral at all. I will agree with you that launching the dog on the drunk is a highly questionable... Hang on, someone just popped up right over you. Decision. But let's not take away this day from the mourners. Okay, Dorothea, fine. I mean, I have been in mourning many times for many a dog myself. But a man is dead. Someone's son, someone's nephew, someone's friend. And they don't even have, apparently, 2 quarters to... And their father, who he was arguing with, is in jail. All right. I think I've caught up. Okay. Shays, where's the time going? Huh? Quickly, since we're talking about police and criminal justice, did you see that this year saw a record number of convictions overturned in this country that were totally wrong? And do you know that 40% of those wrongful convictions were for murders? That some of those people were sentenced to death? That the most of these overturnings or exonerations came out of the great state of Texas. Texas, which can't kill people fast enough. I wonder how many, when I see these things, how many people of the thousands executed by the state of Texas, how many were innocent? How many were innocent? Do you know that in 75 of the cases that were thrown out, they realized that no crime had even occurred? What? No crime had occurred. 3 men doing life for murder and arson because of a fire in Brooklyn in 1980? Guess what? New forensic abilities and found that there was no arson. The fire was accidental. These 3 men hadn't killed anybody, and they'd set no fires. 2 of them will now be released after serving 33 years of their lives. The third, he died in prison. 2/3 of those that were exonerated, in other words, 2/3 of those who were in jail or on death row, were minorities. On average, all of these exonerees, on average, they spent 14 years of their lives behind bars for a crime they did not commit. The most common, they gave false confessions. And you know why they gave false confessions? The more you understand how this works, our wonderful justice system, you see why somebody would say, okay, yeah, I did it. They pled guilty because they were already in jail. They did not, because they're not rich, they did not have access to money to get out on bail before they were even convicted. From the moment they're arrested, they're behind bars. And then they're told, if this goes to trial, you could go away for the rest of your life. But if you just say you did it, we can assure you'll get no more than 15 years. So they confess to a crime they didn't commit. And our great criminal justice system checks another case off. To read about this stuff, 42 people who had pled guilty to possession of drugs were cleared after retesting found that the substances were not, in fact, drugs. Oh, boy. All right, let's end on a high note on the obituaries. Seriously. I loved this guy, Bob Elliot. Maybe you don't recognize the name, but if I said Bob and Ray, this was a comedy duo. Unlike any comedy duo that I can think of. Subtle, deadpan, Bob and Ray. Never going for a quick laugh. Always just sort of. I can't. If you don't. Maybe you don't know him. Maybe you don't know him. You have to be old. Bob and Ray. Ray's been gone for a while. Bob died the other day, 92 years old. David Letterman once said that he knew if someone had a good sense of humor by finding out whether or not they thought Bob and Ray were funny. He said if they like Bob and Ray, they're okay. I mean, there weren't punchlines, it was just this funny. There are two things that stick out in my mind that Bob and Ray did. One was he would play a character the guy's name was Harlow P. Whitcomb. And Harlow P. Whitcomb was the president of something called the Slow Talkers of America. And they would do these things where Ray would be interviewing, let's say, Bob, who's playing the president of the Slow Talkers of America. And it was the funniest thing. I mean, it was uproarious, but they never, they were always like, The guy who I can think of that's most like them in terms of his demeanor is Bob Newhart. Another thing they did was Bob played this reporter, Wally Ballou, who was very nasal. I remember Wally Ballou. And Wally Ballou's stuff was hysterically funny, too. He was a radio reporter. Very funny stuff. The two of them went to Broadway. I didn't know that. They had, in 1970, they had a show on Broadway that went for 5 months, and it was called The Two and Only. And in The Two and Only, the Slow Talkers of Wally Ballou and the Slow Talker of America were like front and center. And the way the show would end the first act was Bob doing his slow talker thing, and while he's still talking, the curtain just closes on him. And then it's intermission. And then when the curtain opens for the second act, he's still there talking. Bob and Ray. You might not know that the comedian Chris Elliot is the son of Bob Elliot. Bob and Ray. Chris Elliot. Actor and comedian. If you can't place him, look it up and you'll know the face. Ooh, hair on my bosom. You know, since my hair's turned white, oh my God, it's just like, I wear dark clothes all the time and yeah. So OJ's going to probably go to trial here. OJ. Oh, I'm sorry. Bill Cosby. I was going to ask also if any of you had watched the OJ thing. I think that started last night. I don't have sorry. And what else we got? Oh, I guess I'm just going to forget about it because I have stuff. There's no time. No time! Do you understand? No time! All right. I think that's it. Yep. All right, guys. Thanks very much for suffering through another hour with moi. See, that's what ladies do. Ladies apologize. Thank you so much for joining Marvelous Me for the last hour of brilliant conversation and repartee. Tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.